Good afternoon and welcome to Biztech Asian Midday Marketwatch. Our guest today is Jeffrey Halley, Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at OANDA. Jeff, as always, great to have you on the show.
Always great to be here, Brian. Thanks very much.
Now, Jeff, before we get your insights, we're going to take a look first at crypto markets, which have crept up again over the past week. Also take a look at the bloodbath that has been markets across the region. Now, we're going to start with the crypto markets. Bitcoin's at 49,205.7. It's up 3.03%. Ethereum is at 3,372.11. It's up 0.5%. Looking at regional markets, we've got the Nikkei, which is down 2.35% at 27,777. The Hang Seng is at 24,112. It's up 0.32%. The ASX 200 is down 0.49% at 7,242.7. Now, closer to home, we've got the SGX, which is down 0.77% at 3,065.95. And rounding up the numbers, we've got Bursa Malaysia, which is at 1,524.5. It's up 0.13%. Markets in mainland China remain closed today for the holidays. Now, Jeff, what's your view on the market performance in the first half of the day?
Australia has done what it usually does, and it's followed Wall Street south, but it's rather a more mixed picture in Asia today. The much more tech-centric, shall we say, Nikkei 225 and KOSPI have fallen heavily. And I think part of that is because they have a much broader range of companies, whereas the ASEAN stock markets tend to be dominated by more growth-centric banking and property companies, and that to some extent has insulated them from the fallout from Wall Street, whereas we know it was tech stocks that really took a bath overnight. Taiwan is actually in positive territory as well, and Hong Kong's holding up okay, and I believe that is because there appears to be some impending asset sales regarding Evergrande, and that could be lifting sentiment there, even though those stocks are actually suspended at the moment.
Now, Jeff, I want to zoom in first then on the tech sector, which got pretty hit hard overnight. Where are investors rotating into?
It does actually look like there's a bit of growth action going on there, because as we can see, ASEAN markets haven't sunk by nearly the same extent as, say, Tokyo and South Korea overnight, and overnight Wall Street, I'm sorry, the NASDAQ in particular. I do believe, though, what we are seeing is a lot of investors moving to the sidelines, though. So cash is always king, and I suspect that they're not really rotating aggressively into other sectors. I think given that we've got a non-farm payrolls at the end of the week, and this market looks for all money like it's going to be a bit of a chop fest over the next few quarters, they're going to move to the sidelines. You know, we're seeing daily swings in sentiment. Yesterday, no one was particularly worried about oil and inflation and the debt ceiling, and all of a sudden today, or they are, and I think tomorrow they might not be. You just don't know. It's all quite schizophrenic, and I think that is partially down to a lack of really hard data before Friday.
You know that with all the risk in China right now, ratings agencies have downgraded Chinese developers, Fantasia Holdings and Sinic Holdings, okay, because of their cash flow situations. Fantasia did not pay a bond that matured on Monday. You alluded to the fact that deals are in the pipeline for the whole to basically sort of put the Evergrande story to rest, or basically manage it down, because the real estate sector accounts for about 15% of China's GDP. What's your take on some of the developments that are happening as we speak?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a slow disemboweling of Evergrande, and bits of it will be hived off either to the banks that have lent it to them, lent them money in China, or to other property companies. Similarly, that bond that was defaulted overnight was to another large Chinese property company. So it's all being kept in-house, so to speak. So I think what the government wants to do is have an orderly wind down. As you alluded to, a huge percentage of the economy. I think what the Chinese government are trying to engineer is a sideways period of housing prices whilst keeping the construction industry functioning, so to speak. Now, that is a pretty tricky measure by anybody's means, and it'll be interesting to see how that all works out.
How will this work out for the bondholders of US dollar denominated bonds? That's the big issue.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that they're going to be at the bottom of the food chain here when it comes to getting bits of the carcass, so to speak. So it'll be the bank lenders and the employees, suppliers, and home buyers that come first. And then whatever's left over will be there for the bondholders. And I'm actually quite, I would think that shareholders are probably not going to get a lot in the end, to be honest. So we're going to see these bounces of exuberance as Evergrande sells off bits of itself. But I still don't think that the outlook for the company in the longer term is very bright at all.
Now, Jeff, what are you looking out for the rest of the week that will move markets? Obviously, the non-farm payroll number is going to move the needle.
Yeah, this debt ceiling standoff seems to be coming to the fore again, and there seems to be a mid-month deadline for introducing legislation to extend it. The Republicans are being quite obstructive at this point in refusing to partake in what is normally a bipartisan process. I think this has introduced quite a new degree of uncertainty in the markets, and that explains some of the moves that we saw overnight. Where there's also talk that the 3.5 trillion spending bill is going to go on a huge diet as well, and that could land up somewhere around 1.5 to 2 trillion, if at all. So these fiscal uncertainties, I think, are driving some of the volatility we're seeing. And I think what we'll see this week is markets chasing their tails on swings in intraday or intra-session volatility. And I think we're going to have some very choppy range trading markets until Friday's non-farm payrolls.
Now, Jeff, as always, thank you very much for coming on the show, and thanks for your insights.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Jeffrey Halley, Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at OANDA, on Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez. Please check out our various platforms as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to these platforms. Thanks for tuning in.